Well, I am the coordinator for Langham Preaching for Trainer Development. Yeah. And we say trainer development because I'm working with people. And so rather than it being training, which I do, but it's the people that we're majoring on. And in that, my main role right now is in bringing adult education principles and practices to our facilitators, our indigenous facilitators around the world. Most of them are still enmeshed in a lecture style format of teaching, and we're wanting them to be more interactive with our participants in the seminars. And so by bringing them, modeling for them adult education, which is what they're doing, then we're getting the classroom to be more interactive. But I also write resource material. I have a monthly resource that goes out. It's called the Help Sheet, and it's one page. It looks like this, and it goes to More Than Langham Preaching. Other people that have seen it have signed up for it, which is rather nice, and enjoy getting it. I also have written a workbook for our facilitators for teaching what our seminar teaches. It's called From Bible Passage to Biblical Sermon. And that's a print by demand through Langham Literature. And it's being used quite widely now around the world and being translated for facilitator use. And right now I'm working on a booklet to help the leaders of our preaching clubs so that they have a little more direction in what they're doing. We often get asked questions, what are we supposed to be doing and how do we do it? And so I'm working with a fellow in Latin America, and we're putting together this little booklet. And Luke Lewis, of course, is in on that. And then the final aspect of my job is on the Langham Preaching Global Leadership Team. And so I take on responsibilities for the forward action of Langham Preaching within that team. And right now I'm working on a new initiative that we decided on in May for a day of prayer and fasting. And that will most likely take place in February of 2018. And so that's I have small projects. That's my bigger project for the team right now. The preaching clubs are actually the vital dynamic of a Langham preaching movement. The preaching clubs are established so that in between the seminars, our pastors and lay preachers and teachers can come together and practice what they've learned and evaluate one another and look at other resources, build one another up, and then come to into the next seminar ready to learn more and then continue practicing within their clubs. In Latin America, they call them escuelitas, little schools. But in the rest of the world, they're most often called a preaching club. Some places have given them more local names that are relevant in their context. Okay. Well, this is the aspect of my work where I'm in the classroom being the facilitator, and they're regional workshops. And so I don't do national workshops, but we bring people together from around the region, the key facilitators and trainers. And we have a maximum of 16 participants in each workshop so that we have time to practice teach and have more interaction among the participants because they come from different countries and they don't always know one another. And so it's a community building activity as well as learning adult education principles and practices. And so in February, I think it was February or March, I was in Lusaka in Zambia, and it was the Great Lakes region of Africa that we were serving with this workshop. So we had facilitators from Burundi and Rwanda, from Western Tanzania and Eastern Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, and then 3 from Zambia. So Zambia is technically part of the Southern Africa region, but it was the easiest place for us to get everybody to from the other nations. So that was exciting because it was a bilingual workshop. It was the first one that we've had that was bilingual. We had one in Cotonou in Benin in French, and we had one in Accra in Ghana that was in English. And now we were doing a bilingual seminar, and we were so excited because we had the majority of the people came from the Congo, and they don't get to do these things very often. It's difficult for them to travel, and it's expensive for them to travel, and we were just delighted that this group was able to come from the DRC. The other thing that was so exciting about it was that I had 3 young men, younger than me anyway, who came, one to do the seminar for a second time. That was Emeka, and he is our associate director in Africa, a Nigerian, and he had been in the workshop in Ghana. And he came to do it for a second time because he wants to become what I am, but for Africa. And I had 2 bilingual young men, one from Togo, Armand, and one from Burkina Faso, Roland, who had attended 2 seminars. They came to Benin, and then they came to Ghana and did it a second time. And in Lusaka, they did some teaching, and they were just brilliant. They really got it and handled themselves so well in the classroom. And both of them being bilingual, it was a perfect venue for them to be beginning their teaching in the workshops. So, and this is my vision, is to bring them together and to see who really blossoms as a teacher and is willing to take it to their people, take it to their region, and to train others. And then in the end, we will have a whole team in Africa from all the different regions who are able to train their other facilitators. And to see that begin to come to fruition is very gratifying for me. That is the hope, is that we will have a team for all of Africa, and that this is the beginning of the team. And when I've completed doing workshops in all of the regions of Africa, we still need to do Southern Africa and Eastern, that I will have these people who want to intern, so to speak, and then begin doing workshops in their own regions. And so my next step then would be to gather them all together and do a second workshop with them to take them more in depth into the philosophy and theory of what we're doing, and so that they have a complete understanding of what they are teaching, and give them more practice time with one another so that they can evaluate one another, and to work with them in developing it for their own region and the culture and the language, and make it their own. So that's my hope. And of course, that's my hope for all of Asia and for Latin America as well. But specifically here, talking about Africa, it's big because it's difficult in Africa. And of course, Langham Preaching, our whole goal is to work ourselves out of a job. We are an indigenous movement in all of these places, and so to have them doing it themselves, and they're so gifted, is an answer to our prayers. if people would please pray for our new leadership team in Africa. We have a new leadership team there. And I'm so grateful. We're also grateful that they are all on board in promoting this training. But they're learning how to work together as a team. We still have a couple people to put into place. And so I really ask for prayer for the leadership in Africa. And then for our participants, the ones who come, that when they return to their respective cities and towns and rural areas, that they have the confidence to pass on everything that they've learned. Because it's in the modeling in the seminar classrooms that we will bear fruit and then begin to have impact. Because we have people who come from seminaries and Bible colleges and churches and schools that are teaching. And as they go back to their communities, learning how to teach more effectively, then we're going to have impact in the communities and in the nations. And so I would ask that we have prayer for that.